Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my apologies for those of you that are joining us on the West Coast. But we are going to be doing this webinar again tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Mountain, 1 o'clock Pacific. There we go. I've got all my time zones, so I can do time zone math, the hardest math we have to do. Um, we are the education team at Bywater Solutions. We are so happy to have you here to take a look and a sneak preview through our newest release for 2305. I'm Katrina Burka. I am one of the educators on our team, and I'm going to pass it around. Heba, why don't you introduce yourself? You've been here longer than I have, so we're going in maybe order of how long you've been with Bywater. Tell us who you are and what you do on the education team.
All right. I'm Heba. I am one of the webinar educators. So our incoming partners who don't do on-site trainings, those tend to be on my plate, and I also create content for our website. So you might if you read the Koha question of the week, I took that over a little while ago. And I'm in Kansas City, so I was waiting for my Kansas folks to come into the house. If we are going by order of time at Bywater, which is 2.5 years for me, Katrina's next.
Well, I just introduced
Yeah,
myself. The only thing
yeah.
I left out is I'm in the Dallas area of Texas. I'm in Plano. So I was saying hi to Justin earlier. I know there's some other Dallas area people on. Um, is it Esther or Lisette that came next?
Lisette.
Lisette, you're on.
Hi, I'm the education support here at Bywater Solutions, and I'm in Pullman, Washington on the West Coast, bright and early. Next is Esther.
I'm Esther. I'm from Idaho, and I am also an educator that does primarily webinars for our partners. And also, I'm a cataloger, so I probably answer a lot of your cataloging questions. So I'm going to hand it over to Heather.
I'll go first, even though Holly started before I did.
Oh,
But anyway, that's okay. I've been here. We started about the same time. I've been here since early August, so about 4 or 5 months now. Um, I am one of the traveling educators. I'm based here in Moscow, Idaho, so Pacific time zone as well. Getting the show going bright and early. I'm glad to be here. Pass it to Holly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Holly. As Heather mentioned, I started earlier in the summer, and I am also a traveling educator. So, um, out and about visiting. I probably haven't seen any of the folks who are on here, but maybe. Anyway, I am in Oregon. And I think with that, we're ready to get started.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Yeah, I know half the people are from Idaho or Idaho adjacent. You're absolutely right, George. I know our team is definitely shifting to the left coast, which is just fine. 'Cause- I keep central. Kevin and I keep central going down the middle. All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to be a little bit like our MC for the day and share so we don't have to keep doing handoffs back and forth. But I am going to get started just by telling you Heather has popped in links to our agenda if you want to follow along on the bugs that we're going to cover today and the things that we think are going to impact you the most from a user perspective. We also linked out to the Upgrades Hub. So that's where you'll find all of the supporting documentation, Monday Minutes, blog posts, everything related to this release. We also have a link out there to the community release notes and to the Bywater build release notes. So we'll pop those into the chat as well. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. Heba's going to lead us off on some updates that we're going to see in the administrative area of Koha.
Yeah. So, and by the way, just the chat is chiming in that they're not seeing the links. So Heather is resharing those for anybody who hasn't seen. So my section that I'm going to talk about is new features in the administration area. So this first one is for the report writers in the house. This is bug 32613, which adds an autocomplete to the reports editor. So if you have poked around in reports, you know that the tables in Koha, especially things like the borrowers table or the items table, can have a lot of information on it. And sometimes when you're writing that report, you're not sure quite what you need. So here we have a sample report from our test site that is borrowers who owe a certain amount of money. And maybe I'm working on this report because we want to generate a news or a targeted emailing to them. I don't have email anywhere in my report. So between first name and address, I want to pull in the patron's email address. So we're gonna add an extra space after first name and one more, yeah. And we're gonna start typing. So we start with the name of the table. I know the email is on the borrower's table, which I've shortened to P as an alias. So I'm gonna start putting that table in for information in. So P dot, I've got a drop down for my options of data points that are on that table. I know I want an email, so we're gonna start typing email and see what options pop up. And I know that we want just email, not email pro. So we'll click that. We also want to make sure we add that comma in there. And Katrina, if you scroll down just a little bit more, if you're me, you're going to go right for that yellow button that says update SQL because that's what we've had until now. But if you notice just to the right of it, there's a subtle little button that says update and run SQL. So that saves you an extra click. So we'll go ahead and update and run. Here we'll just say we're looking for more than $20. We'll run it. And Bob's your uncle. We've got that email column in there now. I'm seeing hands and confetti on here. So I think a lot of people are going to be excited by it. I know there has been another bug filed that is asking for the ability to turn that off for the folks who are like, I don't need help. I just want to write my report. That has, I don't think, made it anywhere yet, but this is a feature that's coming in for everyone. So hopefully you find it more helpful than not. Next up, we are going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to talk about some new elements that are more visible in the staff client now. So if we look at the Mark preview now, and we're going to scroll down to the 650s, this is a record that is connected to authorities. And now that subfield 9 actually links back out to the authority record from that preview. So for the libraries that have and love their authorities, there is one more easy way to get into modify an authority record or work on those if you want to. Moving a little bit down the page, the Mark framework, two fields down, is now highlighted on the bib record. And that one, sorry, I haven't been naming bugs here. That one is bug 33607. Previously, you just had to click into edit the record in order to see what framework something was. Now it's right there on the bib details page. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what? This is so cool. I know this is going to be a feature that makes a lot of partners happy. Coming down to the holdings table now, we have more information that is more visible. This is bug 31212, and this is sponsored by one of our partners, MetroShare Libraries. The last seen information on your items is, instead of just being a date, it's a date time. So for these bigger libraries, or even the tiny libraries that maybe only have one person working there, it can mean the difference between knowing if that thing came back yesterday morning versus yesterday evening. Is it on a cart or is it back out on the shelf yet if you're not using something like cart to shelf? So there's just a little bit more granularity to when that item was last actually handled by a staff member. If you are reporting on item detail on items and you're using something like the date last seen as a parameter, you may want to throw that in a parentheses with date just to only query on the date. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, ask your neighborhood report expert about that. We're going to shift gears again. We're going to go into some cataloging enhancements, cataloging tool enhancements now, actually. So the first one is bug 31611, which more clearly tells you why you cannot delete something. So Katrina's walking us through a batch record deletion from a list. So we'll go ahead and continue. Previously, if you could not delete something, the little checkbox on the left-hand side was just grayed out. It was very subtle. It was hard to tell. You could get all the way through your batch deletion and realize that 4 of those records just didn't get deleted for whatever reason. Now you have a clear bright red X that you can't miss that says you cannot delete this thing. And if you hover over it, you'll get a reason why. And this is the most common one you're going to get, that the item is currently checked out. So just bringing more visibility to why you can't do something in Koha, I think is going to make lives a lot easier. We have another batch tool enhancement. We're actually going to start with the system preference real quick. So the bug is 32019, and it adds the option to mark lost items as returned from the batch item modification tool. And the reason libraries are going to really be excited about this is if you have those old lost items that have been lost for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, depending on the culture of your library, at some point you probably want to purge those because those items are probably not coming back. And if they do, you probably don't want them at that point. So this creates the ability to end a checkout without triggering all those returns. So you can leave the fines on patron's account. You can leave it as lost in your system, but it is no longer checked out, and that enables you to delete it. That will come into Koha not on by default, since that is a change in behavior. So if that's something you want, you'll have to turn it on from the mark lost items as return preference. With that, we can go into our batch item deletion, or yeah, we want to modification, sorry. And we're just going to demonstrate it with 1 to keep it simple. We're going to go ahead and continue. You still get the ability to do whatever you want to do in the item information. And then at the very bottom, you have the option that says check in items, yes or no. So we'll say yes. The item in this is checked out on an account. It's billed.
Let me just
We're
go
going to
ahead.
go.
Let me search the catalog
Yeah.
for that item real
Yeah.
quick so that we can see that right now it's checked out and marked as lost.
Yep. So Cat DeLuca has lost this item. We're going to go ahead and check it in. It's
Good.
still lost. It's no longer on Cat DeLuca's account. And we don't need to go this extra step. But if we go over to Cat DeLuca's account, the fine's still there. She still owes for it, but it is no longer on the account. One of our developers did develop an end checkouts plugin that some of our partners have been taking advantage of and using. This new enhancement ends the need for that plugin because it brings it into Koha proper.
Perfect.
On quality of life improvements to Koha that just makes sense, we have a bug 27992 that it originally came into 2311 and then got backported to the version of 2305 that everybody is getting upgraded to. And it is for libraries that record local use via statistical patron. So Katrina showed you the detail for Grumpy Bruce. Grumpy Bruce is checked out to a patron. Let's say this got left out on a table at the library. End of shift, pages are cleaning up. They're going to log that local use. We're going to go ahead and check it out. That local use has been recorded. It has come off the account it was checked out to. And we have a note telling us that this item's on hold. We do need to check it in. So any further processing does still take an extra step to handle. But just the bare minimum of, oh, this came back in, it shouldn't still be on that patron's account is now resolved. So that one is one that I know a lot of people have been just waiting for that fix to come.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is a new permission. So prior to this upgrade, everyone who has been able to log into, who has the catalog permission to Koha, can log in at any branch for a multi-branch system. We've kind of gotten around this. Maybe we've hidden it for some libraries. But a new permission, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, this one's easy to find, logged in library makes that ability to change your logged in branch permissions based. So everyone who has the staff client access right now has logged in library in the interests of maintaining the current behavior of Koha. For the consortium libraries or libraries that have more strict security needs, and this one came from the Colorado Library Consortium, for those libraries that need to lock down who can change their branch, this permission can be revoked at either the individual patron level or from the template permission if you're using the permission plugin. So again, this is a new permission that everyone has because it maintains current Koha behavior, but now libraries have the ability to revoke that permission if there are staff accounts that should not have it. And then that hides that your location or your change branch, I forget the wording on it. It hides that functionality from within the staff client after they're logged in. They'll still see it on the main login page, but if they select a different branch, it'll just log them into their home branch. And that's the end of my section. I'm going to turn it over to Heather to talk about some OPAC and public services enhancements and fixes.
Okay, awesome. So there are a couple of exciting things coming with the 2305 upgrade relating to the OPAC and public services. One of the things I'm most excited about is an enhancement to the already amazing item search feature. Users will now be able to exclude checked out items from their results when running an item search. Previously, we would see all the results regardless of status or only see checked out items. Now you have 3 choices when running your item search. Pretty amazing, yay. The next bug that I'm going to be talking about, or upgrade feature, another cool thing coming with this upgrade and that patrons at my local library will be super pumped about is that patrons will now have the ability to dismiss a message that is displayed on their account rather than having to remove it or having staff remove it for them. You can see on this example patron's account once we get there. Just a sec.
I'm going to show the message on the account and then what it looks like we're logged in. So there's the message on the staff client. And then I'm logged in as Eric on the OPAC.
Yes. So you can see on this example patron's account that there's a dismiss button there. When the patron clicks that, the message will disappear from their account on the OPAC, no longer displaying at the top of their account. So effectively to them, the messages have been deleted. However, it is retained in the staff client. And now it will show when that message is actually read and dismissed by the patron. This data is going to be stored in the patron read date field in the table. And so you can report on this date of the read message as well. And then the message will stay on the patron's account in the staff interface until it's manually removed by staff. So that's going to be a pretty cool feature as well. They'll just stay on there until your staff removes it. And then the next feature I'm going to be talking about with this upgrade is the ability to batch modify patrons directly from the patron search results. This is amazing. There are so many ways this feature will improve user experience. And the example we're showing today involves a family who needs to update their address in their accounts. Rather than going to each patron account individually to make the changes, now your staff can search for the desired patrons, select the patrons using those check boxes on the left, and then do a batch patron modification, changing all of the accounts at the same time. Another great use case for this feature is if you wanted to make a blanket change to a particular patron category or patrons from a particular branch, you could do so using this feature. So all of these different features are able to be batch modified from this tool. So it has the potential to be a huge time saver for staff.
Awesome. Oh, I see lots of hands in celebration for that one. Okay. Right now, I think we're waiting the SQL autofill versus the batch patron modification from the patron search. So, keep track of what's getting votes, and we'll ask for your favorites at the end. Thanks, Heather. I'm going to step in. I'm going to show you a new system preference that is going to apply really for those libraries who have multi-branch locations. So the new system preference is called Holds Queue Prioritize Branch. That's the one I'm looking for. So we'll see here that we have the option now to have the holds queue either prioritize matching the patron's home library with the item matching their home library or their holding library. This system preference is going to be set to home branch at the upgrade, which is going to preserve existing behavior. But libraries, especially those whose collections float, may want to consider switching this to holding library to prevent transfers between their branches. So what this will do is say, it'll give you that flexibility for those libraries whose collections float to say, I want to match this with the library that I'm at. So it's going to fulfill a patron waiting for it at this branch. There is a similar system preference, local holds priority. This one, though, is going to give the opportunity for patrons to potentially skip up in line. So we do see that a lot of libraries don't use this feature because it does potentially anger patrons if they get skipped in the holds queue and priority. So again, this new system preference holds queue prioritize branches for those libraries whose collections float that may want to enable it to match to the holding branch instead of home branch. The next one is a new notice. So your notices are going to be configured in your tools under notices and slips, and I'm going to search for hold. And I'll see down here, I have a new hold down here, hold digest. And Jesse and Kelly did a really great Monday Minutes kind of walking through this that we've linked to in the notes. This hold digest, though, now when I go to either any one of my patrons, so let's just go back to my last patron, and if I will now see the ability to say, I want to get digests for my holds so that if I've placed a hold on, I'm going out of town, I've placed a hold for 5 things that I want to take with me on vacation, and they all get pulled from the shelf and checked in at the same time, I'll be able to get one email notification that says my holds are ready to come into the library and pick them up. You can also set this in administration by patron category. So if I go in and edit my default patron messaging preferences, I'll be able to set the hold field to receive digests only as well. Keep in mind that any changes you make to your default messaging preferences will only apply for patrons that are created after these changes are made. So this won't apply retrospectively to patrons of these categories already in your database. If you do want to do that, our data team can help you. Just submit a ticket if you're a Bywater partner, and we'll be happy to do that. But keep in mind that any changes you make to those defaults, if you push those out to your existing patrons, that will overwrite any changes that they've made or that staff have made to their messaging preferences in the meantime. The last thing that I want to show you is some granularity that I know, especially some of our larger publics who maybe have a lot of different charges that they use for patrons. So they have rental fees, and they may have fines, and they may have copier services fees and bookmobile items, those sorts of things. Now, instead of the no issues charge, system preference is going to remain, so that, which essentially says if a patron owes more than X amount of money, then we're going to put a restriction on their patron account. That system preference stays, but it does delete three other system preferences. So now manual invoice, rentals, and holds related system preferences are gone. And now we're going to be able to define by the debit type whether or not we want that item, those items, those transaction types to be included in that no issues charge. So now over here under blocks checkouts, I'll see yes or no. So if I say, I really don't want my copier fees to be included in things that are going to block checkouts, all I need to do is go in and uncheck the box for included in no issues charge and save. And now I'll see that that is set to no, so that it will not block checkouts. If I have $5 worth of fees for copier charges, that won't be included in that no issues charge. All right, and I think that's all I have to show you. Esther, I think you're up.
Yeah, so we're going to start by looking at a record. This is for bug 31123. This adds a content warning note. So you can see here I have a movie and I've put in the rating information for the movie. There's a few things to be aware of with this enhancement. So we're going to actually go in and edit the record. We're going to use the basic editor, and we're going to travel where I place that note. So I put it in the 590. If we scroll down and we look, you'll see here that it's labeled local note, but I defined the 590 for my content warning. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we're going to actually also go to, the system preference, and you can define any marked field that you want to be your content warning note. And here I've defined the 590. If you're using the 590 for something else, you can select some other mark tag. The 500s are usually your notes. So if you wanted to say the 592, you need to make that available in your mark framework so that it will display. And if you need help getting that enabled or set up, just let us know and we'll help you do that. I also wanted to show you what that looks like in the OPAC. And if we go there, if we scroll down, we can see that the content warning note does display with the label. If you're using Aspen Discovery, the content warning note does display, but it's not labeled as a content warning. It's just displayed as a local note. Okay. So you have to define it. It's not set as a default. So if you want to use this, you need to go in and put that in that you want to use the 590. Otherwise, it's blank and it's just stays as a local note. Okay, so the next one is bug 32434. Records and lists will show. So here I have a record, and you can see that I have lists. I've created a couple of lists, and this book is included, and it displays in the detail that I have this title in two separate lists, and you can see that the lists are actual links. So you could click on those and they will take you to the lists for those that you've created. This also displays in the OPAC. So if we were to scroll down, you can see here, there are the two lists. The lists, if you're using Aspen Discovery, they do not show. So this is a Koha only feature. The next thing is that, and this is bug 30418, is that you can give permission to staff to edit a list in the OPAC. So I have a list here that you can see. I'm logged in as a staff member.
I'm not yet. So give me just,
Okay.
I'm going to log in as me.
Okay, great. All right, so now I'm logged in and we'll go back to our list. All right, so once we have the list here, you can see you have your list tools available to you. So you have at the top of your list, you have the ability to create new lists, which is available to everybody if you enable that. But you also have the ability to edit the list and to delete the list. So if you edit the list, you can change the name of the list. You can change the privacy settings of the list from the OPAC. You also have the ability to remove individual titles. So if we look at Apocalypse Taco, we have a remove from list button. And if we were to click through, no, so those tools are there available to you. So there is a permission available to this. So if we go to a staff patron, we can look. So we have Sean here, and if you filter your list here, you can find them, and you have the ability to give permission to edit the list contents only, or to also edit the name and settings and permissions of the list. So you can grant both or individual ones. So those are two new features or related to lists. Okay, so I'm gonna hand this over to Holly on a couple of other really exciting enhancements.
All right, I'm going to take you over to acquisitions. With this release, we now have the ability to receive multiple order lines at once. And this was sponsored by Virginia Polytechnic. Um, this has been a request in the community since 2012, so this is really exciting that we have this now. It's really going to speed up the receiving process. All right, so I'm here receiving my order. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the check boxes in the first column for each order line that I'm going to receive. And then at the bottom, I'm going to click Receive Selected. And now on my first title, I'm going to click that edit box on the far right. And now I can choose to receive, make any changes I need to here. And now I'm going to click this next order button. And that's just going to take me to the next line item in my shipment. Do what I need to do here and save those changes when I've touched all of the items that I'm receiving. So now I can see that I'm receiving those items there as Katrina's showing in the quantity column, and I can just click confirm. And now if we scroll down, we can see that I have received those items. So easy breezy. I think this is a really exciting one. Something else that we have that's a little sort of cataloging is bug 20256. And this is a permissions. This is a new permission that we have. So we can now limit the editing of items to a library group. So in library groups, if you use library groups, there's now an option when you're editing or creating that library group to select limit item editing to this library group. And then over in our permissions, under our edit catalog permissions, staff with the permission edit items, that used to just limit people to editing items at their home library. Now it also is including that library group functionality if you want to turn that on. We have a new permission, edit any items, just above there. And that one will allow that staff member to edit any item, even if it is restricted by library group.
All right.
And that one was sponsored by the Colorado Library Consortium.
Great. Thanks, Holly. All right. So we're about to open it up. Before we do, I want to hear from our education team. Tell me since Holly, you just went, I'm going to have you go first. What's your favorite feature in this release? What do you think our partners are going to be most excited about?
Well, my favorite thing that we talked about today is the new item search functionality to exclude checked out items. I love item search. I used item search a ton for routine collection maintenance at the public library that I worked at. And I just think any enhancement to item search, I love it. And I think this is going to be a big time saver for a lot of those collection maintenance tasks we're doing all the time.
All right. I see Lisette nodding her head. So Lisette, what about you? What do you think our partners are going to be excited about?
Well, I know I'm very excited about the SQL helper, the autofill. I know that when I was first starting to write reports, that would have made such a huge difference for me in just like how fast I was able to pick it up. And so I'm very excited for that one.
Okay, I see a heart, so somebody agrees with you. Good. Good. All right, Esther, our resident cataloger.
And I'm
What
actually, yeah, and I'm actually going to pick the multi-line order receiving. I think that's going to be a game changer for our big libraries that do use acquisitions.
Yeah, I'm seeing some celebration. Somebody agrees. Yep, yep.
Mhm.
All right. Heba, what about you? What are you excited about in this release?
I'm going to go with the ability to end a checkout without triggering all the refund stuff. Because I'm a big fan of clean up your collection and don't keep stuff that you're probably not going to get back. And I know a lot of our larger libraries like being able to do that maintenance. So having that functionality within Koha and not with having to rely on a plugin.
Oh my gosh, I think you hit the nail on the head, Heba. There's a lot of excitement around that. All right, Heather, what about you? What's your favorite?
Well, as a my, former worker in the public library, I know that it can sometimes, if large families come in or groups come in, it can be really difficult to go into every single account and change something. So I'm super pumped about being able to make batch patron modifications from the patron search results. I think that's going to be a huge time saver. It's going to keep people on task. Sometimes you're in the middle of updating somebody's address or phone number and you're pulled away because somebody else needs to some help finding a book, or something like that. So this is going to help people stay on task, get those accounts updated, in a very easy and quick manner. So that's,
Well,
yeah.
my favorite is the statistical patron. That has been a thorn in my side when I'm training new libraries on how to use um, the statistical patron. And I think the ability to give you those alerts when it was lost and it's now found and that lost status is cleared, or alerting you that there's a hold on this item. It was checked out to a patron, and checking it in instead of having to check them out to the statistical patron and then check in all of those items again. It saves our libraries a step and it makes sure that we're keeping our collection clear at the same time. So I think Heba, which one did you talk about? Because that was where I saw the most like flashes on the screen.
That was the ending checkouts from the batch item modification.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's one of the features that I think I saw the most chatter about, the most excitement about. Are there any specific questions about anything that we touched on or anything that we didn't touch on that you're curious about, or things that you want to add your 2 cents and say, yes, we are definitely excited about this feature. We're here. I know that we're a little bit under time, but we wanted to make sure we left plenty of time for your questions and comments.
I did want to note, I did see one comment kind of fly by in the chat that was noting the batch patron modification, like could be potentially scary. And I just wanted to say that's a really good reason to keep your borrower's log turned on so you can track those sorts of changes. Um,
Anybody else have questions or comments? What they're excited about? For the content warning local note, will it eventually say content warning in Aspen Discovery? Christine, that's a great question. We'll have to talk to our Aspen development team and see if that is on their development priorities, and we'll have to get back to you. Luann is asking if this recording is going to be shared via email. It will be posted in our Upgrades Hub, and I'd imagine that there will be a link from the Upgrades Hub in a follow-up if you want to watch the recording of our lovely faces and all of these features again, or if you want to share it out to some of your colleagues who maybe weren't able to join us this morning. Sean is excited about the acquisition multi-receive update. I hear you. Yes, that is going to definitely, for libraries that are doing a lot in the acquisitions module, that is a huge game changer for your workflows. Pretty awesome learning all the new things at one of our early adopters. Thanks, Mariah. Good to hear that it's going well so far for you. Well, we'll stay on just a couple minutes more. We are going to repeat this tomorrow afternoon. So if you just caught the tail end of it, or you had to duck out for something else, or you thought it was so good that you want your colleague to watch it live tomorrow, or you just can't get enough of us, we will be doing the same thing. So we're going to cover the same features. There's no new content we're going to be throwing out. But we will be doing this webinar again tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Mountain, 1 o'clock Western Pacific, whatever that. I always forget that West Coast one, the West Coast one. And everyone here, there's still time to go to the Koha US meeting when this ends. So there's the link from George. Thanks, George, for putting that in. Tell us how to get your future concerns in front of Koha developers. Emily, that's a great question. We do updates in, actually, I'm going to have Lissette answer this question. It's Bugzilla, but I'm going to have Lissette answer this question because she is kind of our resident developer educator bridge. So yeah, Lissette, if somebody wants to get their concerns in front of Koha developers, what do they do?
So the number one thing to do would be to make a new bug in the bugs.koha-community.org, Bugzilla. Anyone can sign up for an account. If the bug that you're interested in already exists, commenting on it and voting on it so that it brings awareness that more people are interested in it. That's really important. If it's something that you're interested in paying for development for, you can put in a ticket and get a quote. There's a whole process that we're working to streamline. But put in a ticket, let us know as much information about if there's a bug, what your steps you would like to see if it's not clearly laid out in the bug. We might ask for more information so we can make sure that we've got everything we need for the developers to give a quote and be able to move from there.
Thank you. All right. And Emily's got the website now too. Perfect. All right. And George says you can also come to the Koha US meeting to get ideas, getting ideas in front of developers. That's something that they do as well. Absolutely. Thanks, George. Feel like we need a little sidebar commercial for Koha US. Love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. We hope that you're excited about the release. You'll be seeing these, if you haven't already, when you log in to your site. If you are a Bywater partner, you should see the update in your news section about when your upgrade will be happening. Those are scheduled for the week of January 15th, which is MLK Day. So starting 9 o'clock that night and then rolling through the overnight updates, you'll start to see those on your site. So we've got just a couple weeks to go. Play around, get comfortable with it, and get excited. So we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.